I've been trying to work out how I'm going to make the wings, the mudguards for this car. I was up in Auckland recently and I was getting Joss to explain to me how exactly you go about building them. It turns out making them is only half the problem. You also have to decide what they're going to look like. So I kind of started looking at a whole bunch of other cars, and then I just scribbled some ideas down on bits of paper to get a shape I think might work. And the next step is then just sort of marking it out on the car. Now the first part, the front guard, was easy because I could just mark it on there with a piece of tape to get something I thought looked right. But the rear one is a bit trickier. So what I ended up doing was I made a cardboard template. I basically stuck a sheet of cardboard to the side of the car and then traced a line that I thought looked kind of right. And played around with the card and then decided, yeah, that looked more or less right. So I pulled out some plywood over there and trimmed up a shape. I'm still playing with it. I don't know if that's right. I'm just messing around with the technique and trying to figure out how it all works. That would be the side profile of it. And I can't get far enough back to see what it's going to look like, but I've decided the guards will be have about a 2-inch depth to them. This is a real Austin guard, and it's quite a bit smaller, the depth on there. So I'm going for something deeper because I want to have a smaller gap between the tyre and the bottom of the guard. I don't really like it when it looks like there's a massive gap there. So I've gone for something like a 2-inch side to these things. And I've done some playing around with how you actually go about making something like that. This is flat, obviously, but it'll have a wide edge and it's 2 pieces welded together. That was just me having a really quick play, so it's really messy. I sort of blew a hole in it and that sort of thing. I've also made it 1 inch wider than the Austin ones because I think these tyres are fatter than normal. So you can imagine if this is the straight piece here, the guard would be something like that. So it should look something like that. There'll be about 4.5 inches clearance between the top of the tyre and the top of the guard. And I think that should be enough. I've bounced up and down on the back of the car and tried to figure out how far it moves. So it'll be somewhere sort of like that, I guess. I'm not really sure. Obviously this isn't curved, but the back piece here is straight, so that's why I practiced with a straight piece. The other thing I did do is I have been practicing doing it with a curved piece. So there will be some crown to it. You can see that's got a little bit of crown, just so it's not flat on the top. Obviously the curved pieces will need crown and the curve, so it's a compound curve. But you can see this was another really rough test piece. But it's even quickly hacking something together, I'm getting closer to the shape. And what I did with this one is I've been using the rollers, the bead roller, to put that curve on the edge. If you curve this piece of metal that way and then put it through here, it'll flatten out because this edge, if I can put this down, this edge needs to shrink to pull in on itself. So I've tried just playing around with the shrinker jaws there to shrink that edge down, and that seems to work fairly well. So I'll probably play around with that a bit for doing the curved pieces. You make these mudguards in multiple parts and then weld them together to make it more manageable. And I think what I can do is use the wheel to put some crown in this after I've made the curves, and maybe even after I've welded the sides on, but I think you'd put the crown in this while it's a piece like that, and then you'd weld it all together. So that's pretty much where I'm at the moment. I'm just going to keep playing around. I'm just messing around at the moment, seeing what works and seeing what doesn't, and seeing what looks right.